everyone. Happy St. Patrick's Day. I've got my hat for later, but I thought that I would not share that fun look with our guest that I told you about yesterday, that we're going to have Michael Shane Wiltshire here from the Warren County Commission. And so we're going to go right into that interview. It's great. We had him back a couple months ago, kind of give us an update. Mr. Wiltshire is very focused on making sure the public has access
Yes.
to the process. Would
That's-
that be a good description?
Yes, when I came into office, one of the things that I've done that has never been done before is I try to film committee meetings, because a lot of the people understand we have monthly meetings, and it's very well known that the public is invited to come there, but what a lot of people don't understand and they don't get to see are the small committee meetings where 5 county commissioners get together, and that's really where decisions are made. And I've often said that the full county commission meeting is almost theatrics, in that things have been decided by then and in committee, and your other 19, in our county we have 24 commissioners, and by the time it gets to the full county commission meeting, the other 19, they see how the 5 voted or discussed in a committee, and they usually go along with that. And so what I've been doing is I tape a lot of the committee meetings when I can get to them, and I put them on my YouTube channel, and a lot of things have come out. I mean, we can, and everybody's human and can make a mistake. We can catch a lot of mistakes in keeping minutes and parliamentarian rules by video that other times people wouldn't ever see. So that's one of my things. I try to be very vocal and very public. I have a Facebook page, email, phone numbers. Our addresses are listed on a state page for you to send letters to our house. There's no notice not to send letters to our house. So I really think the people need to get more involved, and I think it's a large part of that is the elected officials' responsibility to draw them in, because a lot of people don't understand what their rights are or what access they have to elected officials. So, yeah, that's what I try to do. I try to tape committee meetings. That's the ones that people don't normally see. That way they can see how we act in small committee meetings, because that's where the bulk of decisions are made in local government.
And I totally understand that, because you can't, you've got to get into the meat of issues, and not all 24 can really spare the space at a meeting.
Yes.
So I get the process, but you're opening up to the public. I mean, they're open to the public, right?
Yeah, exactly. All meetings, local government meetings are open to the public. A lot of people don't understand. When I came into office, they didn't have an understanding that there's meetings besides just this monthly county commission meeting. There are smaller committee meetings all through the month, and everyone's invited to those. Very few public come out, and I understand that. The public elects their officials to do their work, and they believe they're going to do what they would want them to do the whole 4 years they're in office. Sometimes it doesn't pan out that way, and that's why the people really, if they're interested, they need to be coming out to the committee meetings, and they can pick the committees that they really feel strongly about, health and welfare or buildings and grounds. You can pick what you're concerned about, and you go to those committee meetings, and that's where you can really, I say, have access to your elected officials, but you don't always have access even there. And in fact, this coming Monday night, I've actually made a resolution asking to add time for public comment to our monthly full county commission meetings. We've never had that before. And people just assume that they can go to these meetings and speak out. You can't unless we give you permission. And I hate to even say that. It sounds so draconian to say we have to allow you to speak in those meetings. And I understand time constraints and stuff like that, but denying the people access to those meetings and an opportunity to speak, that is totally against what we are as a nation, I believe. So Monday night I have a resolution that's coming up, and it will put permanently on the monthly docket a time for public comment. Our city government has had that for decades in Warren County. The Warren County Commission hasn't. And it just blew my mind that, it took the animal control. We've had some issues with our animal control locally.
Yeah.
And that has really brought up the issue, the animal control is not really my issue. I'm not on that committee. My brother is. My brother's county commissioner. But it brought up the issue of the speech of the public being able to have access and speak out on issues. And that's when I saw that the public were being denied access or the right to speak in a meeting. That's when I thought that needs to change. They need to have an opportunity to speak. You know, when you have people coming out in walkers to meetings because they care about it, you need to respect them enough. They are the people that put you in office, and you need to respect them enough to give them the time to say their piece, you know, reasonably. I mean, I don't think any of them would want to delay the meeting or hold it up. We need to trust the people in what they want to do. And but the animal control issue, there's been some negative in the past, but it's been very positive here recently. You know, we've been able to turn our animal control facility around in the last few years under certain leadership, and certain commissioners have really strived to make that. We've had some problems in the past, and they've really strived to improve that, and they have. And most recently, there has been a county commissioner. His name is Blaine Wiltshire. That's my brother. He's been in office for 6 years, and I'm newly elected commissioner. But my brother, Blaine Wiltshire, he's made a resolution. He wants to add the term adoption to the Warren County Animal Control. Seems simple, and it seems like a no-brainer, because here's the thing. One of the main arguments is, you know, when a lot of people in Warren County don't know that you can go to the animal control and adopt an animal. They think that's where you take an animal for it to be euthanized. And the fact is, in Warren County, we have an 83% adoption rate. Why would you not tout that very positive aspect of animal control? You know, animal control is adoption, transport to other facilities, to other animal-loving associations or entities up north, because the north takes a lot of our animals. For some reason, they have laws, and they love southern pets for some reason. But anyway, and the adoption and euthanizing, whether you want to admit it or not, that is a very small part in as a last resort. But why not accentuate the positive? And another wonderful argument, which I can't see how any county commissioner could argue against, is when people go on the internet and they search adoption. They want to adopt an animal. Animal control doesn't always come up in your search. So when you get on and you search for animal adoption, Warren County Animal Control may not come up. But if you have Warren County Animal Control and Adoption Center, as my brother, Commissioner Blaine Wiltshire, has proposed, and will be on a resolution this Monday night, you know, once that term is added in that department, it'll be an automatic. It will come up as an adoption center. You know, we have people in our own county who have come forward and said, we didn't know. We went out of town and adopted an animal because we didn't know. We thought this is where you bring animals to do the worst. And that's not what it is. Warren County Animal Control is where you bring an animal and they have the best shot at a good life with loving parents or owners. And I can't see how we wouldn't support that. I really believe that resolution will pass unanimously this Monday night. I would be ashamed as a county commissioner to vote against that, because it accentuates the very positive of animal control. So
that was a hot issue, for sure.
Yes, like I said, Warren County had been in the news previously 3, 4, 5 years ago, before I was ever in office under the last administration, because of some issues. And we had some different animal rights associations in Warren County that sometimes always didn't get along. Okay, and it almost turned into a battle between these. They all cared about animals, but for some reason there were personalities that weren't meshing. And we had some problems, and we were on TV about some animal issues. And I really feel like in the last few years that's really turned around. We have all these associations in Warren County that care about animals, and they're finally meshing together and realizing it is all about the animals. And as long as we focus on the animals, it doesn't matter if my personality doesn't jive with yours. I know at the end of the day you care about animals. I'll tell everybody I'm not a big animal rights activist.
Right.
But I don't believe they should be treated cruelly or inhumanely. Okay? My brother's on the Health and Welfare Committee, and he's an animal lover. You know, I don't even have a pet at this time. But the animal control issue brought to the forefront the rights of the people to address their officials. And that's why I've kind of got in on this. Some people say I've hijacked the animal control naming issue, which I have not. That is Blaine Wiltshire's issue, and I give him credit all along. He loves animals and always has. And I don't dislike animals. But when the speech element come up, that burned me bad, because that's one of the things that I wanted to run for office for, because I had not been serviced in the way that I felt like citizens should be in Warren County. And this is just another way that I'm proven right. We're not represented right. When you have to go and ask permission, or there's not even a time for the public to give comment. Because at the last meeting, actually in the last full county commission meeting, there was a group of people that came and wanted to talk about the animal issues. There was 25 people, and they had a spokesperson, and the county executive knew they had a spokesperson. They'd been in contact with him for a week or two, that they would like to have their spokesperson speak. He knew that. So I made a motion to amend the docket to add a time of public comment. There were 7 commissioners out of 24 or 23. I think one may have been absent that night, but there were 7 commissioners out of 23 that night that voted to hear the public. You had 16 county commissioners who voted they don't want to hear from the public. And the county executive knew that this group had one spokesperson that wanted to speak for them. And even if they'd had 2 or 3 other people, the county executive has the right to say, I want to hear from anybody and everybody or not. And he could very easily, without me trying to amend the docket, the county executive could have said, you know, I know there's some concerned citizens, they've been emailing me, and we do have some issues. I'd like to hear from former Commissioner Sally Brock, who would like to speak, or does your group have 1 or 2 people that they? And he didn't do that. He just, it just languished. I made the motion to amend the docket to add a little public comment. I got a second. We voted, and only 7 county commissioners out of 23 that night voted to hear from the public. And it blew my mind.
Wow.
So I'm really, and so I made it in the form of a resolution that will be on the docket this Monday night to add that permanently to our meeting agenda from here on to eternity, or whenever they want to vote it out, who would want to do that. So I'm really anxious to see if anybody has changed their mind this coming Monday night, because it looks like it would be political suicide to vote against hearing from the public. You know, and I do hear, I know some people say, well, you can't let them speak all night.
They get 5 minutes.
Well, here's the thing, and I've made it very clear, and they knew, any county commissioner that knows Robert's rules
Yeah.
would know that at the time I made that motion, or this coming Monday night, any county commissioner can stand up and go, I love that idea. I want the public to have a time to speak. But in the interest of time, I'd like to amend your resolution, Mr. Wiltshire. Make it 3 or 4 people. Make it a 3-minute time limit. Any elected official can choose to stand up and amend my resolution this coming Monday night to restrict the people's access to speak. I'm not going to do that. I'm simply making the resolution to allow the people to speak at every county commission meeting if they wish to do so. Any county commissioner is more than welcome to stand up and start restricting their right to speak. I'm not going to be the one that does it.
Right, I
So-
hear you. So Robert, do y'all get training on that? I was kind of wondering, because I know when you get elected to state office, you know, you learn, they put you through a crash course of Robert's rules, even if you hadn't known it. Do y'all get training as a county commissioner on how to properly execute a meeting and to, you know, the ethics and all that, you know, stuff?
No.
Wow, okay.
No, I mean, we can go to state-provided conferences and stuff, but let's be honest, if you're a common citizen who runs for office and wants to change things, you've got a 40-hour-a-week job. You know, I'm having to take vacation time just to come here and talk because it's important to me that people understand. But no, you know, the first thing I did was, and I knew some of Robert's rules before I took office, but the first thing I did was I bought a Robert's rules copy to read it, you know, so I operate from that. I try not to do anything that's against Robert's rules. And the thing is, everybody's going to make mistakes. And as an elected official, you can make a mistake. There's always a way to correct that mistake and do it properly. You know, just 2 nights ago, I failed to write down the votes on one motion on the minutes to a meeting. So I immediately, when I got home and I noticed that, I started calling the commissioners on that committee and I said, hey, I failed to list the vote. Did we vote? Because I was writing minutes down and there was a discussion going on, and the person that keeps the minutes sometimes gets confused. And I don't mind to admit that I make mistakes. So I called the commissioners and emailed them, and I said, and the leadership, and I said, how do we correct this? I said, I know we can meet 10 or 15 minutes before the full county commission meeting on Monday night if you want to, and we'll take that vote, and we'll make it right. And we won't charge the taxpayer the $25 per meeting fee that we get to do that, because it's my mistake. I didn't write it down. So, you know, and I think often when elected officials are caught doing or making mistakes, they don't own up to it. And I think that's what people do not like. You know, I think it's much easier for an elected official to say, hey, I made a mistake. And there's an avenue to correct it properly, and that's what I want to do, instead of just not acknowledging that you made a mistake. I've actually taped meetings in the past that were in violation of sunshine law, and I've asked for them to be corrected, and they never have. And I've got falsified minutes to other meetings. But the thing is, if we just follow the rules, you know, there are avenues to correct any mistakes that we make as humans, because we're going to make them. But
well, it's tough, you know, and once again, what you're talking about with the 40-hour work week, you know, everyone forgets, even with the state legislature, I mean, it's a part-time legislature.
Yes.
So, I mean, not having the I don't think a lot of people, and this is just, you know, what I think, mean to do wrong.
Yes.
You know, I just don't think they're trained to do acceptable, because unless you're in a Rotary or in
Yes.
one of those, you know, Chamber of Commerce
Yes.
where you have like meetings that are Robert rules and organizational, man, you just don't know.
Exactly.
So I think a lot of times in the ethics issue, you know,
Yes.
if you're related to someone, you got to step out of a vote, those kinds of things. I mean, unless you're taught,
You won't know it. And
You won't know it.
And I've actually, within a couple months of being elected, I actually sent an email to leadership saying, hey, I made
Let's have some training.
I made some suggestions.
Right.
You know, one of my simple suggestions were when our committees meet, we need to have the minutes from other committees, because sometimes what this committee is doing over here has to come before our committee. And if we don't find out about it until the monthly full county commission meeting, well, that's a lag in time that we could be doing something positive. And we often don't know what's going on in other committees, and I think we do need to know what's going on in other committees. You know, it does affect other committees. But the training, you know, I immediately addressed some of the Roberts Rules violations and Sunshine Law violations that I knew about, and asked for ways to correct that stuff. It's sad, you know, that you go into office and you don't at least study the rudimentary Roberts Rules and how to operate, and, you know, you don't meet outside, you don't discuss stuff outside of those meetings. You know, I mean, even if you get on the phone, if you start talking about how will you vote on this, that you're not supposed to do that, you know. I mean, recently in one of my videos, the county executive asked one of the county commissioners, do you have the vote about a pending resolution? Do you have the votes? My thing is, how would he know unless he's already taken a poll? I don't think we're supposed to be talking about how we're going to vote on things outside of these meetings. So that in itself, you know, it showed the mentality. And you talk about state legislators. I've looked at senator. Thing is, for a common person who works a 40-hour-a-week job, if you were to get elected as senator, making $19,000 a year, who can support their family on that? Now, granted, that's like a 4-year 4 months out of the year that you're actually in session. What? What common person can find an
A job,
employer
yeah.
that will work around them and allow them to serve the public like that? So it's very hard. I mean, that's why we don't have a lot of young people who are more common. I mean, you have very well-off business people, attorneys, doctors, stuff, retired people that are able to go into office and serve. I really wish there was a way that more common people could go into those offices. You know, people that still understand what it is to live paycheck to paycheck or have to provide for their family. You know, they don't have it all set up yet. They're the kind of people that we need fighting for everyone because they still understand what the struggle is. You know, but as it's set up, you know, if you ran for senator and got elected and you're making $19,000, $20,000 a year and you don't have somebody that'll work around your schedule, you can't serve the people. And that's been one of the things that I've looked at as far as just looking at what could I run for senator, you know, and that's one of the things I'm kind of grappling with. You know, how would I support?
What about state reps? State reps coming up this year too.
That's true. That's true.
So, I mean, you know, lots of things going on.
Yes.
How many elections are there for the county commission this year? How many are up for election, or are there?
County commission will not be up for election this year.
Okay. School board.
Yeah. There's a couple seats on the school board
Right.
that is up for election, and we have I think the property assessor
Oh, yeah,
possibly
that's right.
in Warren County.
Okay.
And I think we had an appointment that we made that will get appointment of a county commissioner. We had a county commissioner pass away, and we made an appointment, and I think they may be on the ballot this coming November just to fulfill that last 2 years of the term. But I don't believe anybody's running against that person.
Okay.
It's uncontested.
Do you have
but
any referendums or anything?
not that I know of this year. A lot of things going on in the city, but no referendums. That alcohol's been a big thing in the McMinnville city limits that the board and the mayor and board of aldermen have been struggling with here in the past few months. But I don't know of any referendums that are on the ballot this year.
Right, all right, gotcha. And what was the other thing that's going on in Warren County? You know, Coffee County's having a little animal control issue
Yes,
too.
and-
That's your neighbor.
Yeah, and I saw that blew up a couple weeks ago. They actually run their city and their county animal control out of the same area, the same piece of property, and I'm not for sure what's going on, but they're being made out to be a high kill facility, and that came on the heels of what's going on in Warren County, and I'm like, guys, we don't want to go back to a place where this is us. You know, in the past, this has been, they were able to report stuff like this on us, or they were alleged to like this. We don't want to go back there. And this, to be fighting the addition of the word adoption to our Warren County Animal Control, you know, in contrast to what's going on in Coffee County and what's went on in Warren County's past, I see nothing negative about adding the word adoption to the Warren County Animal Control. I see nothing negative about it, and I see a lot of positives. I mean, grant money, once you add that word adoption, and that comes up in the search engine, and it also allows you to apply for grants maybe that you weren't able to before. You were just animal control. And
But so it's because we have a lot of animal lovers.
Yes.
I mean, we are, we have big heart. We love our
Mm-hmm.
animals, and so, you know, the rabies things is coming up,
Yes.
you know, and that we're having concern about. So, as a local government, I mean, there are some who aren't animal lovers. I mean, you know, honestly, like, you know, I know Mayor Cordell, you know, probably not a high priority item. I mean, there's probably like tons of things
Yes.
on his plate.
yes,
But you know, he's going to have to deal with the situation, or it's going to fester and get ugly.
yes, and I think, like I said, you know, animal activists, animal lovers, you know, I don't think you have to be an animal activist to care about animals. Like I said again, I wouldn't classify myself as an animal activist. You know, do I care about how they're treated? Absolutely, and I'll fight with those animal lovers and animal activists to make sure they're treated fairly and properly. And a lot of times, the county executive or the county mayor, like you said, Mr. Cordell, they have a lot on their plate. And that's why you have committees that take care of those smaller issues. Now, if they don't take care of those smaller issues, yeah, they come on up the ladder to the county executive or the county mayor, whichever one your county calls it or deems it. But you really hope it gets handled committee level. And it blows my mind that when something so positive like just adding the word adoption comes along, your elected officials fight it. Some of them do. Why do you fight something so positive? You know, you're not dealing with, hey, we're a high kill facility. Be glad you're dealing with, hey, we want to change the name just to add the word adoption. To me, that's a no-brainer.
Yeah, I mean, we got to put the humanity back in things, you know. I mean, we're all neighbors, you know, and you're right, the government, I'm from the part of the government's just there to deal with the infrastructure
Yes.
and the security issues.
Yes.
And animals are a security, an infrastructure issue, I think. So, Grundy County still hasn't gotten an animal control. So we'll be looking to y'all.
Yes.
To see, maybe our prisoners could do it, you know, something, you know, our old jail will be fit for dogs.
Yeah, well, and I have read about, you know, places where they actually have some kind of program where the inmates
I think
take
they
care
would
of
be a great
animals.
rehab program, because if you're with a dog, I'm telling you, it's the same thing. You develop an empathy that you probably never had.
Yeah.
So I think it's a great rehab program too. So anyway, different ways to use, because we're footing the bill anyway, right, for them
Exactly,
in jail.
yeah,
So let's pay it all back.
Yeah, you're paying for it, and you know, make sure it's done right.
Yeah.
And make sure people are. You know, it doesn't take any more money to do it right, or to treat things right. You know, sometimes there's going to be some cost, but I mean, people are paid the same. They can choose to do their job well or not, or they can choose to care for the animals they care for or not. I mean,
it's quality of life. Well, we have a great spay-neuter program here that started way a while back. You know, just getting at the root of the issue, which is, man, just stop having babies.
yes.
Yeah, unwanted animals. You know, just get them fixed. That's a responsible owner. But that was my dad, very educated man, up until recently, refused to have his dogs fixed.
Really?
Yeah, and very intelligent man. I'm telling you, one of the smartest men I knew. Just didn't feel that was right.
Yeah.
To do that to his fellow dogs.
Well.
And I'm like, Dad, you know, but then you learn about cancer and you learn about all these other things. So, anyway, it's an issue. You can't just ignore these things.
No, you can't, because, like I said, when they fester up and they get on the news,
somebody loses an election.
somebody does. They do. Yes.
Somebody loses an election. All right. Well, we're going to send off Michael Shane Wiltshire on his way. Very appreciative.
Yes. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
You're a wonderful asset to Warren County, and your future, I'm sure, is a bright one.
Well, we'll see. We'll see.
If you don't get run out of town first.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
All right.